Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. Well, actually, it's the final episode of the season of Puzzle Minds podcast. Wait, what's up? Oh, okay. Today's guest is Monique and Dharma, who have both been on the podcast previously. So I want to thank both of you for coming on. And again, congratulations on your recent engagement.
Hey, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yes. Today's topic is a spicy boy, a muy caliente, and it is brought to you. Oh, well, I guess controversy too. It's brought to you by the letter D. So we're going to hit you with that D, that double standards in today's society. So who wants to start so we can get canceled?
Ooh, this is a good one.
First episode. Last episode done.
I'm like, I feel like you guys are like hell bent on trying to get canceled.
It's like
Not intentionally.
Mad.
Not intentionally, but you know, it is what it is. So I will start. Let's say this is, I guess, men are allowed to show nipples in public, but women are not.
Ooh, all right, Mo.
This is like the debate since the beginning of time.
Hashtag free the nipple.
Right. I really think the biggest issue is that women are just sexualized. I feel like men, we think men can be sexy, and there's things that help us define how sexy a person or a guy is. But for women, we're just straight up just sexualized. It's difficult for a woman to even breastfeed her child because immediately people are offended and think she's being lewd when she's just trying to feed her child. So it's just going to be up for debate. And I honestly don't know how it gets fixed. I mean, we have free the nipple movement. What else do we have?
Well, I guess
Amber Rose slut walk thing that she had. I don't know if she still does it, but she used to do it's called literally the slut walk, where it was just a bunch of people just walking around pretty much butt naked. But it was kind of, to your point, empowering, destigmatize women being naked, or I guess being naked, period.
For sure. And I know there was a law passed recently in New York where legally women can walk around topless, but it's still taboo.
Yeah, that's the thing that I saw too. Yeah, the NYPD is still arresting women even though, it is legalized. So I don't really understand how that works. There might be another thing that they're arresting them for, and then just tap
too much nipple.
Yeah. Or maybe a hairy nipple. I don't know. Maybe they're arresting women for hairy nipples. Who knows?
It's just so crazy because the whole reason I feel like there's such a stigma is because it's just, men can't control themselves. So
100%.
Women need to cover themselves up.
I 100% agree. I was just about to say that. It's because dudes are fucking horn dogs. If I reset myself to factory settings without being raised a certain way, without anything, and just do what my body tells me to do, I'm going to be in jail within 15 minutes. So you're 100% right. It's men that can't handle themselves seeing a woman naked, because ultimately we see women sexually. If a woman has an amazing body, whether it's big breasts or a nice ass, men automatically for the most part think sexual. And then we have the programming being don't act on this sexual desire now. So now you have, that's just society, right? So now if you have a society where ultimately women are just walking around shirtless, I think women are in better control of themselves. Women can look at a guy that's in shape or whatever and not just go into a almost animalistic mode and just try to jump the dude's bones. But there's certain countries where dudes don't give a fuck. You see places in Russia where dudes flat out just will grab a woman and be she's hot, therefore I must touch. And then there are other places where I guess there are quote unquote rules. But I think Monique's right. It's just because dudes can't handle themselves.
Well, arguably that's because of European, society that said, oh, we can't, we're so prude and we don't have sex and we don't do this. Women can't show their bodies. But you go to I don't know, the Amazon, and you see some of these tribes, the women walk around topless, and that's normal. It's not like they're getting gangbanged every 2 seconds just because their tits are out. You know what I mean? Not to be vulgar or anything, but I think society is almost not pressured, but it's been taught over the word's not coming to me right now, but just not condensed, but just taught over the eras that, hey, women are beautiful, and we have such a high standard because they're up on such a high pedestal. Like they're the beautiful gender or sex of the species, and we have to hold them to a higher standard. So yeah, women have to button up, cover their shame.
I mean, I think a lot of it also stems from religion. I feel like the Romans and Greece, they were all for your curves and just doing whatever you want with whomever you want. And then it was kind of like the Crusades and Christianity. And then it was like, oh no, y'all need to cover up. But men, you're exempt because women need to do their part, so we don't act up.
Mm. Do you think it has anything to do with the idea of like the female body is this more attractive than the male body? Like if you see two people, like one guy in really good shape and then the female body, the male body just it almost looks like a car engine. It looks like everything serves a purpose, right? You're not looking at it like, oh yeah, like,
right.
Look at that dude's pecs and quads and I don't know, fucking elbows. But when you see a female body, like you don't even have to think about it. You're like, yo, I'm all about this. This is a great thing going on over here, right? So
I agree with that.
Well, people love lesbian sex, but they don't, necessarily see, two dudes. It's kind of like, well, next.
Wait, no, see, that's how you get canceled. Disregard what Dharma just said. All sex is beautiful with whomever you want as long as it's consensual. But listen.
That was not us, by the way. Whoever's trying to cancel, that was not.
Oh, God, Dharma got us canceled. You know what? All right, guys. It's been a fun one.
We put it out there, right?
No, but Tadila, I agree 100%. I've always joked about this, and I had an ex who joked about this. He'd be like, like the women body, like the women anatomy is it's just so beautiful, and then I'm this dude and I just have this thing that just hangs off of me. He's referred to his penis. And he's just oh god. And if you think of art, like, yeah, I feel like a woman's body is just so beautiful that we do try to, I guess, protect it and hide it. And we should think of it as like just sacred and,
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think I 100% agree. I just think a dude's body just looks like it's purpose driven. And to Dharma's point, well, kind of almost, I guess I'll recancel us, but like, but dudes, like, I think the stigma with also men when it comes to like male and male sex is that it's always associated with aggressiveness. Women are associated with sensuality. So it's almost like a dance when two girls like, are making love to each other. I don't associate it with like a fist fight. When I think of dudes, I'm thinking like just the way men are programmed. It's like
elbows
rough
flying,
sex.
knees,
elbows slamming through a wall, just find just nearest orifice, just put it in there.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's not a dance. It's a borderline physical fight. Like, because like put it this way, like people don't realize the Spartans, most of them were gay.
Oh, here we go. We're uncanceled now. We're using history. We're good.
Yeah, yep. Exactly.
Historical fact: Alexander the Great was bisexual.
Yeah, so it's like, I guess when it's associated with masculine men, people tend to be turned off by it. But like even now with like the trans community, that's kind of like it's almost like I guess hacked the way I guess a lot of men are programmed now to the point where I think you'll see that people are going to be more receptive to male and male sex when people become more receptive to, I guess like biological male and then a transgender person.
Sure.
And then we have to slowly move towards, like John Wick and fucking Bruce McClane fighting each other. I don't know.
So what does this do? Does this set the tone for? Is that kind of the tone for all like the bias? Like, I mean, I feel like the most biggest double standard is obviously when it comes to like our sex, men versus women. But I feel like that just extends into like a whole bunch of other things, kind of with the same underlining tone,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't really know. So let's go with the next one.
Next.
So anyone else want to do another one before anyone have on their list?
Well, bang one out.
There's just so many double standards. Okay. Like, okay, well, you could go with, the women make, I don't know, what is it, 74 cents to every dollar that man makes in the corporate world.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, women have the equal opportunity in education and work experience now, but get overall on average paid less. I mean, what's up with that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just summed up to just like, I mean, it's a male dominated world at this point still. I mean, as much as things have gotten better for women, I mean, men are still making the rules. So ultimately, it's like whoever is in power is always going to naturally make rules that work in their favor. I think it's still that classic situation.
We talked about, what were we talking about? The double standards of like sports, why I was like still trying to grasp my mind around why women have softball and men have baseball. And I really just, I still just don't understand why we have a different sport for women and men, or I don't know.
So we were actually talking to someone yesterday who'll be on the podcast next season. But he was talking about how like in esports, there's not really that many female women, I guess, or not female women. There's not a lot of women in esports, and I'm not sure exactly why. I don't know if it's just because gaming culture, I guess, is predominantly men, and I don't know if.
Well, he kind of explained it as if it was the way that gaming was marketed when video games were very popular. People like, I guess, these companies or advertisers marketed towards young boys, so it became like a genre that pretty much like I think a lot of men almost have an ownership over. Like as much as that it shouldn't be that way, gaming has always been associated for the boys, right? Like Call of Duty, NFL, or Madden or whatever, right? So I think in turn that resulted in it being super misogynistic because gamers are some of the worst offenders of like sexism, misogyny, and homophobia. Have you ever gone on an Xbox live chat?
Unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately.
Call of Duty lobbies, they're all free for alls.
They'll hurt your feelings, bro. A 12-year-old will ruin your life in 5 minutes, dude.
I just never get on a mic because the minute they're able to differentiate that you're a kid, like a boy who hasn't had his balls dropped, or you're a girl, then it's just like game on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
There's hands down to double standards in the gaming community too. So.
Yeah, 100%. And then it's like when you just leave these people to essentially run an entire, like, I guess you can say, culture, which is like gaming culture, it's going to get bad because no one's correcting them. When dudes are just saying wild stuff on, video game chats or whatever. So then now you have like women who are like women like the last, 10, 15 years is like, the female population has become very interested in gaming and stuff like that. And you have some women that are like top tier gamers, but are scared to go on the mic because dudes will automatically hear that voice and then they start berating them. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why there's that double standard there where it's not even a double standard. It's just that men are chasing women off of gaming. That's what it comes down to.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sad, but.
So I have another one. So this is about to get spicy. So someone had mentioned this and they had said, women are able to care about something that's uncontrollable, like height, but guys can't care about something that's uncontrollable, like weight. So I guess the thing is that women are able to be more selective in what they want in a partner in terms of that.
So in terms of like attributes that people may not be able to change. Yeah. So like
someone who's like 5'2" versus someone like, you can kind of say that, I don't really want to date him. He's too short. He's like 5'2". He doesn't really meet my, I guess, quote, height requirements. But if you say like, hey, I don't really want to date that woman. She's like overweight. You can't really say that.
I mean, both are guilty. Come on, like men, there are guys who don't want to be with someone because they have a butter face, and girls are like the same way. It's like, but I feel like women get more on those traits that you say that aren't controlled, like genetic driven, because like low key, we're thinking about traits we want our kids to have. It's not purely aesthetic and what we like want one. I personally would be like, I like
think about it that way.
Nice hair, nice eyes, good teeth. Then my kids are probably going to be sad.
Wait. So what happens with all the people that don't have like what is the word I want to use? Attractive traits. I guess they're attractive. I guess it's all relative. Because attractive to you is attractive to someone else. Okay, never mind.
There's some people that are universally ugly. I don't believe in that. I think some motherfuckers are like, you're in trouble, dude.
Some Quasimodo ass.
Exactly. It depends how you're raised. Like my mom always always instilled that in us too. Like she was always like, just you should try and date someone who's like tall and this and this, and then your kids will look like this. So I mean, that's just how I kind of grew up, and I don't necessarily say it's right, but it influenced.
Yeah.
But I guess the thing, I guess what John is saying is like, I think women are allowed to be more specific with things that are considered like shallow, right? Like if I go out there and say I want to date a Latino girl with big tits, 19-inch waist, and a fat ass, people are gonna be like, "Yo, you're a piece of shit.
Right?
Like,
you're a dog.
You're a dog. You want to customize your girlfriend, bro?" But women are allowed to say like, I don't. Especially like hair is a big one that women are allowed to get away with. Like, I don't want to date a guy that's bald. Like if you're balding, you're like, that's it. Like, you can't control that. You can't you can't really unbald yourself. I guess those products, I don't know if it really restores long luscious locks.
Yeah, you get some hair plugs.
I mean, I've been around I've had a lot of friends, and honestly, I personally didn't hear too many of my friends say those things, but I guess if you are attracted to someone and that's what they're thinking, then you probably shouldn't be trying to pursue them.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very good point. I guess, but I'm just saying that, like, in terms of like the rules, like women are allowed to essentially, they can say it. Like if a dude's like, same thing like John was saying about weight. Like if a dude's out of shape or like fat or whatever, women can be like, "Oh, that dude's fat. I don't want to mess around with that." But let a dude say that, canceled immediately.
Right. I think to your point is that I feel like women have become maybe more vocal about it, which is why we're trying to press that it's probably more okay to be accepting of how a woman feels, because men have always been doing it. Men have always been critiquing women. They've always been like, you need to wear, this corset because your waist isn't tight enough. Like we've always been picked at for all of our appearances. And I feel like we're now like, okay, now we are going to do exactly what you've been doing to us.
Oh, so we expect the bully getting bullied at this point.
I feel like it's very similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it hurts more if a woman comment like you gain like 5 pounds. If your friend, like a dude, says like you've gained 5 pounds, you're fat, I'll be like, whatever, bro. Let a girl tell me I've gained any kind of weight
or lost weight the other way around.
Well, lost weight doesn't even matter that much because lost weight is more of a compliment. Like I'm talking like let a girl point out something on you that is unattractive. Dudes, our egos are immediately shattered, destroyed, crying like, I'm fat, I'm bald, I smell like shit, she doesn't like me. Like all that stuff, all your insecurities immediately come out because, like Monique was saying, we're not used to getting really like objectified and broken down like that. So,
yeah, I agree. What about sex toys? So with girls, it's okay. I guess girls have like dildos and what is it called, Hitachis, and shit like that. But okay, I'm going with this.
Leaving my girl for the weekend, putting the little padlock on the Hitachi.
I don't even know what that is. Oh my god.
Oh, okay. Well, we can Google that later. But if a guy has like a fleshlight or a sex doll, prostate massage or whatever the fuck you want to use, like it's they're seen as as weird.
This is y'all. This is y'all three.
Okay, so like I don't know. For me at least, I feel like there's like whenever girls, I guess from a guy perspective, like we don't really care if a girl uses like a sex toy. Can we unanimously between us three say that?
Yeah, I can say that, yeah. Like it's just normal, it's just accepted.
But so I guess this question is to Monique then. When a guy uses a sex toy, is your initial thought, like the first 3 seconds, do you think that he's a weirdo if he uses like a fleshlight or a sex doll?
I don't think so, but
I guess can you see a general? I don't want to say general.
I mean, there's a need for it. It's no different than if a girl has a vibrator.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You know what I mean? It's
everybody's entitled to their guilty pleasures.
But once again, women have been overly sexualized. So is
it normalized?
It is normal. It's normalized for a woman. It's normal for a woman to be sexy, to like get herself off. It just is. No one I feel like it's not on anyone's like top 5 list to Google a guy with his flashlight. I don't know. I don't know. But women This is like so, like my face is like so hot. It's so weird.
So you're telling me if I want to buy the Ball Goggler 9000, there's a taboo on that, but women can literally insert a vibrating piece of plastic in them. That's just not fair.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. No, honestly, I don't know. Like, what do you, John and Dharma, what do y'all think? Have y'all ever had stuff like?
No, I've never used like any of those sex dolls or sex toys. You know, that's not to say in the future with sex robots. That's a different story. But like in terms of like, yeah, I don't really use it. I don't really have like, I don't care if people use that stuff. Like it goes back to that whole like everyone has needs in whatever way that you need to fulfill them. Like do it, like whatever. Who fucking cares? But I just don't know if there's a like. Whenever guys use like sex toys, I think they're labeled as weirdos. I think.
I mean, I feel like it's at the bottom of the list. Like if you go to a sex shop, they're immediately like, you want to get something for your girl, you want to get something for your, I don't know.
It's automatically a stigma because if you want to think about it, who cares if let's go ahead and get a little graphic. You brought the topic up. Who cares if a girl's sticking a dildo in her, her ass or wherever else? And whereas with a dude, it's like, well, you're limited, let me just the fleshlight or let me, because what's the other alternative? Yo, Monique, what's up? You trying to peg me? Like, what's going on here? Like, I'm not into that. So let's not go there. So, for a dude, it's definitely a little bit more of a stigma or a taboo, I'd say, with sex toys, because you're definitely like limited in options if we're looking at the cis male heterosexual point of view. Then it's like, well, dude, what else? I mean, what are you doing? Like, right? What's up with that?
Yeah.
We also have no middle ground.
There's definitely there's definitely a double standard when it comes to sex in general between men and women.
Yeah, I mean, we have no middle ground either. We either have our hands or we have to take out like a loan to buy a sex robot. Like women have tiers to it. You have your clit stimulators, vibrators. You have like tiers to it to the point where it's like you don't have to scream. But I have to pay like $3,000 for a borderline humanoid machine, and then I have to get over the fact that I'm banging like 10 pounds of urethane rubber shaped to look like the woman of my dreams.
Oh my God.
Worst comes to worst, it's Rick and Morty, and then that sex robot has babies with you.
Yo, I was totally exactly. That episode.
And the weird part is too, like you can buy like lubricants for these robots, and it's like we have to get over all these mental hurdles just to get to that. And if you're in that position in your life, I feel like as a guy, you're not looking too favorably on yourself. You're not like proud of yourself that you spent $1,000 on a machine you have to lubricate and then clean out.
Dude, it goes back to the double standard. Well, I mean, I guess it's true, but if we're talking about male female relationships, the female decides on when the sex is happening. I mean, the dude ain't choosing that sometimes.
Or it's rape.
Exactly, or they are choosing and not.
What is male rape? I mean, of course, you have to open up that subject these days where it's like men who are abused by women, and it's like looked down upon. Like, dude, like, why didn't you just take it? Like, that's a dude trying to touch. That's a girl trying to touch you, dude. Like, what are you, gay? You didn't want her to touch you, man. Like, you're gonna call rape on her? What?
Yeah.
Like, what's up with that?
That is a perfect example for double standards in terms of unwarranted and unconsensual, like sexual contact. Like, men get shitted on. It's like, no, you want sex. You should get sex whether you want it or not. And women were like, no.
Like, that's an emasculating view for society to look on a guy like that. Like, if the conduct was not consensual, then you just gotta go to the grave with it, man. Whereas today you have the Me Too movement, and I think it is becoming a little bit more acceptable, but like, it's like anything less than, like our last episode that I was on with you guys, anything less than that alpha male, like I need to spread my seed amongst all the women in the world so that my genes, continue forward, survival of the fittest, blah, 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 blah. That alpha male point of mind, that mindset, it's like, well, that goes back to that double standard,
Yeah, very true. And it's even happened God forbid you're like a alpha looking dude too, like a muscular guy. society has no remorse or sympathy at all. Like Terry Crews, actor, I think he got sexually assaulted by another, like a director or producer or something at a party. Like he was at a party and the dude pretty much like came up to him, and this is like the way this is out of his mouth, literally bit his lip and then grabbed his balls and looked him straight in the eye and said, "I'll be getting this later" or something like that. Oh, but when you're in his position, like you look at Terry Crews, that dude looks like he can rip a tree out of the ground. So not only did he get made fun of when this came out, I think 50 Cent was making fun of him, like kids like, dude, how are you that big? But at the same time, you're gonna get sexually assaulted. It's like it's like if he punched that director or whoever, his career is pretty much done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's one of those situations where unfortunately it's like you almost have to kind of be a victim, or two, let's say for example, roles are reversed and it's a woman that does it. Even me, I'm guilty of thinking this. Like, I don't think my brain is even programmed to think that it's sexual assault, unless like you're married or like you're dating somebody, right? Like, if you're a single guy and a girl comes on to you, like my natural instinct is like, yeah, man, why don't you want it? I guess all men are entitled to not want sex. It's not like just because it's thrown at you, you have to want it. But I think society tells us as a dude, you have, like what Dharma was saying, you have to want to spread your seed and pretty much go Genghis Khan mode and just bust a nut all across Europe. And just hope that, I guess things work out in your favor.
Right.
Genghis Khan mode. I'm gonna start saying
I like that. Hashtag Genghis Khan mode.
Hashtag Genghis Khan mode.
If any listeners got this far, hashtag Genghis Khan mode in the comments, and we'll know that you were up to this point.
Genghis Khan should have been canceled a long time ago.
Yeah.
So terrible.
I have a few more. Do you guys have anything that you guys want to talk about?
No.
I have an interesting one. What about marriage? Why are we still in the position of men have to propose to women? Like I've always looked at it, it's like marriage is a union, right? Both people want to pretty much like tie their fates together for all of eternity, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, and it seems like to me, like by a man having to essentially like propose, it's almost like a woman's an object that you basically have to be like, may I have you forever, right?
Pretty much.
If two people are equals, I mean, technically, shouldn't that kind of be updated to a certain degree? I'm not saying women would have to. What if it's like people propose to each other?
Dude, I think it goes back to the tradition where, when a man was going to marry a woman, basically the woman's family would pay that man's family like a dowry. Like, they're taking their burden of having this woman in the family, like off of their chest. Like she's not an expense or a burden to that family anymore. So in a sense, I think it just goes back to old traditional ways, like the man is marrying the woman, he proposes to her, that's how it's done, and then they exchange the dowry, and then that's like a transaction.
Well, let's fast forward it, because I was joking with Dharma about this too, because we've been together for 5 years and he proposed to me on August 1st. And I kept joking. I was like, what if I proposed to you?
I was like, don't do that to me.
So why? Why?
Because it's like emasculating to the man.
Oh, here we go.
It is.
Oh, shit.
Here we go.
That's my place. I'm the one who gets the ring. That's, it's part of my salary that I earn and bring to the house. And this is my token and expression to you for you to want to marry me and be a part of this, because the man is the breadwinner and the man is the alpha of the house.
Oh my God. But it's like Tadima said, like, we're both committed. We both love each other. Why does it matter if the other sex takes the reins?
So I think it has to do with societal pressure, because that kind of goes back to the whole like sexual what is the word? Is it harassment that we were talking about with Terry Crews?
Sure. Yeah.
So, if a girl proposes to you, then society is like, what the fuck? Like, are you not man enough to do it to, like, are you not man enough to...
Right. Like the man who takes his wife's last name, like he changes his last name when they get married. Like, it's just like, what, do you have no balls? Like, what do you pick?
It's a very
That's
weird
another
thing.
one I think
I know, why do I have to change my name?
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to that ownership thing.
When I worked in the bank, it was you don't understand how much trouble it is. They got to get social security card, passport, driver's license, bank account. I mean, it's everything just to change that name.
It's from Western society, Christianity. Like my mom has never changed her name, and it's part of, you know, that culture where the woman doesn't change her name when she gets married.
So. Also as well too, that keeps your family tree alive, because
Yep.
I have a interesting take on this. I've always said that I think that when two people get married, since it's two different family trees come together, as a man, I wouldn't mind taking her last name and then she takes mine. So I would Dharma, you would take Monique's last name, Monique would take your last name. So you'd have two last names, right? Because technically, well, according to like Western values,
what's the point of that though?
Because a woman is no longer is like part of her family tree in some cultures. Because, like, for example, if Bob Johnson marries Sally Jones and then Sally Jones becomes Sally Johnson, the Jones, like, if she's the last of her line, that line is just dead now.
Yeah.
Unless biologically, obviously, she's still of, you know, the Johnson clan or whatever, or Jones clan, whatever. But you lose all that heritage, and that's why like, imagine how many like bloodlines throughout history are probably lost because of, you know, women marrying to another family and then they take a different last name, versus if you were to add, you would have to have two last names, because a union of two families. Well, you know, like even like you and Fiona, John, like you would take Fiona's last name and you still have your last name. You don't lose your last name. You just add her to yours because she's joining you and you are joining her. Like,
oh, that's too inconvenient. I don't want to have to write that too much name. We live in the 21st century. Baby.
Oh no, that is literally a problem. Like, once again, when I was at the bank, we couldn't fit a lot of the Latin community's whole name onto debit cards. We could only fit one last. That's not disrespectful. It's like
6 names.
Do you want Cortez, Hernandez, or just Cortez, or just Hernandez? Like, what? It's like wrong.
It is. It's an interesting take on it, because I mean, I know obviously it's inconvenient, but there should be some respect for, like, the woman. Like where the woman came from. It's like, all right, fuck your last name. I'm about to upgrade you. Take my last name. Let's party. Like, what? Yeah. You know, like I don't understand that. And then there's also that thing about like ownership, because there is that element of ego in it. I remember the other day I was talking to somebody and I was like, if you were to she didn't like want my last name, right? And I was like, I was offended. And I thought about it. I'm like, why am I offended by this? It's like, I was offended that she didn't like my last name. And I was like, well, she said like she didn't like I thought she was because she didn't like my last name. My last name is Njagu. It's like straight up African. I'm talking like blueprint African, you know, to be one Njagu, right? So she's Colombian. So if she were to take my last name, it would have been Estefania Njagu. She didn't like the way it sounded. So I was like, I guess you are technically entitled to have a name that you want, but my ego being default programmed to be like, you better take my goddamn last name, was like, I was so offended. And I thought about it, I'm like, no, it just has to do with ego, because there's still that element of ownership that men have when they go into marriage, where it's like, this is my wife, you know? So, I mean, we could change that, but I don't know if we can change that by our current generation. Like with this new, you know, I guess millennial generation, maybe they can, but us 90s kids, I don't think we're going to have it.
Yeah, it's definitely a cultural thing, because, I mean, you go back to the whole, well, you bring up the point of the family tree thing, and it's like, well, shit, that makes 100% sense, you know, in the sense of record keeping, to keep track of who's related, like your ancestors, because that's so valid, and it's just relevant to me. My sister just got me our family crest ring, the Leggett crest, on a signet ring that all the men in my family on my dad's side get when they're 21 usually, but I just never got one. So she got it for my 30th birthday, and I have such a huge family tree that it's like manicured. Like people like research my family tree to like make sure like, oh yeah, we're related to so and so and so and so, because it goes back all the way to like England and Scotland or something like that. And like if the man were to have changed the name in that, you know, course of time or anything, you can't keep track of those records, you know. And you know, your great ancestor or something another did this and this or something another. People wouldn't be able to keep track of that as easily, at least. But you bring up the point with, you know, combining both names, which the idea of it makes sense. It's like, well, you're forming a union, you're creating a family, you know, your own household at that point is joining of two families in a sense. And but I think it just comes down to the inconvenience of having such a cumbersome name. If you were to, you know, really go by all that, it's like, it's just not convenient for society.
That's very true. What do dudes do when two guys get married or two women get married? What happens in that situation?
Ooh.
That
I don't know.
I don't know how to answer that question.
If you are of the community, please let us know in the comments when we post this.
I'll ask my friend Jen. Like, she got married, and I'll ask her like what her wife changed her name to. I'm curious too now.
Yeah, it's like, well, how does that work? Yeah.
I have one last one. So this one is, I guess I have to word it. Like, I talked to Stu about this, so he might be able to sharpen this, I guess, sentence or whatever. So I guess whenever a guy like talks to children, it can be kind of seen as like pedophilia.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, goodness gracious.
But when a woman talks to a child, it's kind of like cute and loving.
I got this.
What was it, Little Boy Lover 72?
No, we just got done watching The Office.
Michael Scott.
Yeah, Little Boy.
He's like, I got the perfect username for this dating app. And we're like, no, please. But no, John, you're 100% correct. So there is a complete double standards in terms of how women are allowed to interact with children versus how men are like basically allowed to interact with children. And I'm going to put it in a very simple scenario. If, let's say, when you and Fee decide to have kids, you're taking your child out in the stroller and it's got its like chubby little thigh hanging out of, the carrier. And a woman comes up and she like squeezes it and she's like, oh my gosh, your baby's so cute. And you guys are like, thank you. That's like totally normal. Like, I'm going to have someone literally be like, no, you should always ask permission. But if a woman does it, women aren't considered intimidating and threatening. So if she comes up and like touches your child without your consent, you're not going to think your kid's in danger.
Yeah,
but when a man comes and does that without permission, men are just ultimately more intimidating. Like, I can be overpowered by a man. I am threatened naturally by a man that I don't know versus a woman. So it's a whole intimidation and a threat factor. And that's why there's that double standard, because men do have the capacity to be more powerful.
Hashtag Genghis Khan mode. Pillage, take the babes and the women.
It's just that appearance. So yes, it is a double standard. I mean, there's plenty of men and women who are capable of the exact same things. So
yeah.
And also as well too, to your point, Monique, you don't hear too much about female, I guess, was it pedophiles? It's always men. Like, I've only heard
wait. No, you do though, but they're like high school teachers that like fuck their
students.
Their students. Yeah.
But that's
pedophiles too.
A fantasy though. That is like a man's dream.
I'm about to go on a hot take that may end me forever. But
I am not associated with this, by the way. So
I'm saying, okay, listen to this. It is worse, obviously. It is worse to bang a child. I mean, child. I'm talking like that high range than a high schooler, right? So we've made rules that, like, like 16 is young, 16 is, illegal, right? Mm-hmm. So the thing I've always been interested in is why, like, at what point do we decide, why are we allowed to decide, okay, that person is an adult, right? So when a female goes after, like a female high school teacher goes after a young student, let's say this dude is built like LeBron James. LeBron James at 15 was built like probably like a 30-year-old man, So obviously age-wise, it's still illegal versus a child, like a legitimate baby that has no sort of ways of consenting or responding or, fighting or whatever.
That is you just said it right there. The part where we differentiate what is wrong and what is right is the capacity for the parties to have consent and understanding of said consent. That's where the line is drawn. We try and put an age to it, but honestly, it's literally when you have the mental capacity and mature to know that consent is legit.
Yeah. And it seems like, honestly, here we go again. I'm about to ruin my life again, but like it seems like female pedophiles aren't nearly as bad as men. Men pedophiles like go after like babies. Female will go after like a 16-year-old, right?
because guys are perceived as like predators. Like when I had a male teacher at my high school have sex with girls on like the sports team, like that was disgusting because it's like they're predators. But if a woman has sex with a high school, it's like, well, she obviously probably had to talk to him and kind of get to know him. You know what I mean? There's a double standard.
It is a big double standard because even me now saying, I'm like, is it really pedophilia? If she's built like a porn star and the 16-year-old's about it, but just because the age, is it really? But it is. Like, it is 100% because, like, if there's later on, you never know, he may grow up to be, like, to regret that specific situation.
So, exactly.
It might shape him or cause him to think, have a complex growing up, and who knows,
Absolutely.
It's all about psychological at that point.
Like 50 Shades of Grey, man.
Ooh. Oh, shit.
Exactly.
I was taught by my teacher.
Oh, no.
Teacher. I can use the way.
All right.
Not for teacher, baby.
I think that's it for me. You guys don't have anything else?
Oof. We could probably go on about this until like 2-3 a.m.
I mean, I feel
we can do it. We can do it in post show.
I think something Dharma and I talked about that we went back and forth was like kind of like the double standards in just like in sports, but then it really just came down to like numbers. It's like, well, it's like how many people really watch like women's basketball versus men's basketball, or like women's soccer versus men. Like, why should women get paid less? Well, it's like viewership and marketing, I guess.
Yeah. I don't really watch sports, but if I'm gonna watch sports, I'm not gonna like watch WNBA or women's soccer. Like I don't really watch sports to begin with, but if I do, like, I think this might get me canceled. So I might be there with you, Tadiwa.
All right.
The athleticism with like basketball and like football and stuff like that, I think I attribute that like maximum, like optimal performance with men in those sports. And so if I watch something that's, that's not a man performing those sports, then I'm just like, is it really?
I feel like you're not getting like 100% of that potential, right?
Yeah, but then I guess you could use the argument of UFC fighting, in the sense that while they are like different genders fighting, you can't really compare those two, can you?
Well,
No.
you can compare it in terms of, I think what you're saying, to your point, John, that
help me out.
Certain sports that male and female capability is almost equal, you see the female viewership higher than sports where there's a big gap. Like, for example, UFC. A woman fighting a man, obviously, since there's such a big, I guess, power gap in terms of like the strongest man versus the strongest woman, there's a big difference. Doesn't mean the woman's not strong, but the average male is stronger than the average woman, right? Mm-hmm. But when you see women fighting each other, it's still entertaining because the skill set is still there. Like, she can do the same move as the guy. It's just that the guy's going to do it with maybe much more force, right? Versus if you're watching something like basketball where the capabilities are drastically different. Look at the average female in WNBA who can dunk versus like the males, right?
Right.
So I think that gap is why you see some sports like no one cares about. But then you see things like, for example, like swimming or even tennis. Female tennis, I would argue, is just as popular as male tennis.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So the capabilities are very similar. Like Serena Williams can like smash a tennis ball through a wall. And something that, she's just the one I just
that form.
But I'm sure there are other women that have the same capabilities. So I think it comes down to, and even as well too, when you see like things like Olympic wrestling, women also are beasts of that as well too. So it just depends on the sport in particular and, the capabilities. And I think that's what it comes down to. I don't know if it's necessary. Like gaming that's the reason why I think gaming is something that a lot of dudes are threatened by, because it's not really about physical ability. It's like about the brain, and you get women out there that are fucking beasts. Like,
anatomy doesn't come into play. Your muscle mass, your testosterone doesn't come into play.
Right. And that goes back to, I know this is a really bad example, and it's also controversial because South Park brings up this topic and does it in their way. It's going to be controversial. But there was this one episode where I guess the female teacher, strong woman or whatever, who was the athlete, like the strongest, gold medal winning woman. And then, I don't know, some dude decided he was like, I'm gonna identify as female. and I'm gonna, demolish the female competition because I was born a man technically, so I have the development and ability of a male-born individual. But because I identify as a woman, as a female, I get to compete in the female league and automatically be number one. Mm-hmm. So it goes back to the whole, well, shoot, I mean, sure, has male sports been marketed significantly more than, say, female sports? Yeah, absolutely. But I think there's more of a tendency to want to see that male blood sport. That's why we have sports these days. That's our modern blood sport. Back to, you go back to the gladiatorial days where you had literal men killing each other for sport in an arena. Obviously we don't do that today, at least not televised on TV a lot for people to watch outside of maybe, MMA, but it's like, shoot, I mean, you're not going to pit like a male-born man against a woman. It's like, oh, that's wrong. Like, she's obviously, at a disadvantage, but, at the end of the day, everybody's human. It's like, well, the woman could be faster and smarter, more agile, who knows? And like the dude could be like slow and just like that muscly tank or that stereotype, whatever.
I do.
So it's like, who knows? It's like, why do we limit it to that these days? There is a double standard when it comes to that.
I do feel a little indifferent about seeing, two females getting tackled and beaten bloody than I do two men.
Well, because we're conditioned that the men go away to war, they do the violent things, and the women stay home and protect the house and the children.
Hashtag Genghis.
Calm mode.
This is calm mode.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So that's the double standards in society that we talked about. So if you like this podcast, smash that like button, follow button, wherever the fuck you listen to us. You probably won't listen to us after this because we'll probably get canceled. Follow us on our social media platforms. Instagram is at Puzzled Minds Podcast. Twitter is Puzzled Minds Pod. And our email is puzzledmindpodcast@gmail.com, where we do encourage everyone to submit us a topic for season 2. Last but not least, thank you again at Official Block of the Week on Instagram for the weekly episode cover arts that we get. He has been amazing with these cover arts. There's probably one of my favorite things about doing these podcasts is just waiting for these things to come out. So thank you again, Official Block of the Week. Other than that, everyone stay puzzled.